Hello, everybody. Adrian Fontes, Arizona's 21st Secretary of State, here to talk about the public comment period for the Elections Procedures Manual. That starts on August 1st, 2025, and it will end on August 30th, 2025 at 5 p.m. First, what is the Elections Procedures Manual? I'll be running through a bunch of stuff here. Thank you for joining us for this introductory video. The Elections Procedures Manual is a critical guide for outlining how elections are actually conducted by the 15 counties here in Arizona. It provides uniform rules and guidance to secure fair and consistent elections administration for eligible voters. This guide is for election administrators. Pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute 16-452, the Secretary of State, that's me in my office, is required to produce an election procedures manual in consultation with the counties, and we'll talk about that. The rules in the manual have been have had the force and effect of law for elections officials, and the manual must be approved after we draft it by the Attorney General and the Governor, who have been part of this process as well. Now, what is the function of the manual? It is a guideline for election officials. Okay, it is a document that elaborates on the constitutional, statutory, and court guidance that election officials have had. And it really does put things in a box in one place where folks can actually look at it and understand how to run the elections. Again, this is for elections officials, not generally intended for voters, but we are inviting voters to get in here. It is gap filling, which means that it addresses issues that are neither covered by the Constitution or statutes or court decisions. And so where there may be some ambiguity, we fill in some of those gaps. This manual has always been the backbone of how Arizona runs elections. But in today's environment, it carries more weight than ever. What was once just a technical guide for elections officials is now a document that is rightly scrutinized by the public, the press, and the courts. That's why we're inviting every Arizonan to take a look, ask questions, and offer their ideas during this public comment period. Now, there's some key updates. I'm going to run through these as quickly as I can for the various chapters. In Chapter 4, as it pertains to equipment, there's some updates to equipment audit guidelines, which is important. In Chapter 8, that is pre-election procedures. It adds lieutenant governor to the election ballot because we now are going to have a formal elected lieutenant governor in Arizona. It adds in federal and congressional poll observer information, minority language assistance in written versus oral languages, which is also very important for our tribal communities here in Arizona. Re-precincting, considering tribal land boundaries. So we want to honor the sovereignty of tribal nations. And this talks to counties about how to re-precinct with that consideration in mind. Notification to the Secretary of State when there is an equipment failure, which is a 30-minute notification timeline, or if there's long lines for voters, there is a 1-hour timeline on Election Day for those things. Now, for pre-election day. Now, Election Day operations, Chapter 9, 2 changes there. Clarification on voter intimidation and harassment examples, so we can get rid of the ambiguity there, which was the subject of lawsuits. We don't need lawsuits, we just need clear rules. So we're fixing that. Voters dropping off early ballots, on-site IDs, this is based off of House Bill 2785, and tabulation of early ballots at polling locations. We've addressed those changes. In Chapter 12, which is post-election day procedures, you have to count dropped off early ballots on Election Day and post the totals on a website. That change has been made. We did a date change for the canvasses, and at the canvas, the Board of Supervisors has a non-discretionary duty to canvass. That is the law in Arizona, regardless of what some people think. So we've spelled it out as the law. The Secretary of State takes all legal remedies if the counties fail to canvass by the appropriate and statutory deadlines. Now, Chapter 14, campaign finance, we've made an adjustment. Complaints are not accepted unless they're submitted by a human being. We can't have campaign finance complaints being issued by AI, for example, or dogs. I don't know why we had to clarify that, but we did. Chapter 15 is forms and appendixes. Now, a lot of the forms had been removed. We're bringing them back because the counties wanted them back. And so we're doing as a lot of the counties wanted, adding forms back that were removed. If the EPM makes reference to a form, those forms will be included in this version of the Elections Procedures Manual, an adjustment back that we hope the counties will appreciate. And it includes the master election calendar and campaign finance calendar, which is also critical for planning. Elections administrators are perennial planners. Now, the manual that's currently in effect was updated in 2023. Prior to that, the manual was updated in 2019, but before that, it had not been updated since 2014. So Arizona is back into a regular pattern where every 2 years, as stated in statute, we're having these updates happen. We're very happy about that. Now, on October 1st, 2025, we have to submit the manual to the Attorney General and the Governor for their approval. And December 31st, 2025, the Attorney General and the Governor must sign/issue the manual or not. Now, here's the great thing about the process that we've engaged in up to this point. So that covers what you need to know for the public comment period. But if you dig behind the scenes a little bit, we've been working directly with all 15 counties in different stages of the manual. We would release a certain number of chapters to the counties. They would make comments. We would have meetings, and then we would move on to the next section. They would make comments. We've had meetings. And so this is the process that we've been engaged in for many, many months, going back to early in 2025. Now, during the last several months, or at least the last several weeks, our teams have been meeting very closely with the Attorney General's office and the Governor's office. Why? Because we want to make sure that we have the best and closest version to what we might end up with as we move into the public comment period. And that means we wanted to get all of the heads at the table to give you the best product possible for your comments. And so during this public comment period, we'll be looking at all of the suggested changes that you may end up making. You can submit your comments to azsos.gov. You can go to the web forms there and make your comments, and then we will take those into consideration. And then again, as indicated, submit those to the Governor and the Attorney General for their final approval so that we can publish this thing by the end of the year. This is just government doing its work with your participation. So that is what the public comment period is going to look like. That's some background on what gets changed, why the Elections Procedures Manual exists, and how we're going to move forward after we get those comments in. Thank you so much for paying attention and being informed. My name is Adrian Fontes. I'm Arizona's 21st Secretary of State. Happy to be of service.